Welcome, friends. Welcome back to the kitchen. Welcome back to Sunday morning, the Old Cookbook Show. We're going to revisit this cookbook today called Carolina Cookery from Quaker Kitchens. This was published in 1924 in High Point, North Carolina. It is a community cookbook. It's by the Women's Auxiliary High Point Friends. I've been to High Point, North Carolina a couple of times. They've got a giant furniture show there. In 1924, were there a lot of Quakers in High Point, North Carolina, or in that area? Anyway, it is a community cookbook. Every recipe is attributed to someone in the community who has sent it in. And there's some great recipes in here. Today we're going to try something called brown rice and cheese. It is, for all intents and purposes, kind of a custard rice pudding, savory custard rice pudding dish. So in this mixing bowl, I'm going to start with an egg. And we'll just give that a little bit of a whisk. Now that that's whisked, I'm going to start putting in some scalded milk. Now, there are different reasons why a recipe would call for scalded milk. There are some recipes where, first, what happens when you scald milk? When you scald milk, you change the way that the proteins are raveled together or twisted together. And in some recipes, that's very important. Things like ice cream and certain breads, because it changes the texture down the line when you're done. In a recipe like this, not very important. That raveling of proteins isn't very important. So I have to imagine 1924, this is a recipe probably from an even earlier time. Scalding the milk first is because the milk wasn't pasteurized, and it was just giving you an extra layer of protection. So the rest of this recipe is just dump it all in. So I've got some cooked brown rice. In that goes salt, paprika, and grated cheese. And just give that a whisk. Now, the recipe gives you an option at the end. Pimentos, if liked, are an attractive addition. I like pimentos. I happen to have some in my fridge. So in they go. Mix them in. Now, I only made half of the recipe. One of the problems of doing a cooking show like this is, on a day like today, I'm doing 4 recipes. I don't need a full thing of brown rice and cheese, just enough to give it a taste. So I've only made half of the recipe. It also says to cook it in custard cups. I am not that fancy, so I have a buttered baking dish, and I've got it inside this, this roasting pan because you're supposed to cook it in a Bain Marie. So I'm going to pour the mixture into our baking dish. Another reason for only doing half is a lot of times in these earlier cookbooks, the recipes are for massive families. There's just Julie and I. We've got all kinds of stuff to eat today. We don't need a full one. Now, my oven is on, but it has something in it that is cooking at a different temperature than this recipe calls for. So I'm going to carry this into my home kitchen. What I'm going to do is pour a kettle of hot water into the Bain Marie. So it just comes up kind of 3/4 of the way on the baking dish. Stick this in a 350-degree oven, and we cook it until done. So we'll find out how long done is. Okay, so that took 45, 50 minutes, something like that. I didn't test it with a silver spoon or with a silver knife, because I didn't want to dig around for a silver knife and have to polish it in order to stick it in the pudding. So I just used a regular kitchen knife.
Hey, friends. Hey, Glen.
Brown rice and cheese.
What are the red bits?
Pimentos, if liked.
I'm looking at it trying to decide, is it savory? It
is savory. So
yeah, okay.
Those are pimentos, if liked, are an attractive addition.
Oh, they are.
I know. It is quite nice.
Brown rice and cheese.
It's a savory custard. It's a savory rice pudding.
Sure. Let's taste it first.
Mm-hmm.
Is it hot?
That's good. I like that. Okay, so it smelled really good when I was cooking it. And I thought, oh, I'm going to like that.
Because it's got that. It's got the same comfort as mac and cheese.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a big cheesy
Mm-hmm.
thing with some carbohydrates in it.
Yeah. Now, I could have drained the pimentos a little bit better. I did just scoop them out of the jar and stick them in. That's changed the texture slightly. The type of cheese you use would change the texture a little bit. I just used, white cheddar. But there's so many cheeses that you could put in this. And I don't know that it needs any different spicing. That amount of paprika seems to be just about right.
You could make this.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this could be a new trend in the world of, all those places that specialize in mac and cheese. It could be the
gluten-free
cheese,
version.
Yeah, the rice and cheese, but,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to substitute something.
I think pickled jalapenos instead of the pimentos would be fantastic.
Not as pretty as the pimentos.
Probably not as pretty. Okay, so
But you could go with a spiced version of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Clearly, you and I have both eaten half our bowls.
Yeah.
Yours is almost gone. Okay.
Okay, so
That's all you need to know.
This is really good. 1924 brown rice and cheese. Super simple. I don't believe that scalding the milk at the beginning is important at all. Maybe just stick it in the microwave for a minute to take the chill off from the fridge, and you'll be fine.
I've had to set mine down so I don't eat it.
Yeah. Don't be afraid of the Bain Marie. The Bain Marie is super easy. And, I couldn't show you, but, put the pan in the oven, pour the water in, and then slide it in if you don't want to be sloshing around in your kitchen with hot water. Don't worry about that at all. That's a great, easy side dish. Thanks for stopping by.
Side dish.
See you again soon. Or